Hey, it's Jazz here from thebassmastermind.com, and today I'm really excited for you to watch this video because what you're about to watch is a 7-day technique challenge, and this is specifically designed for bass guitarists. So this is actually a full course that used to be inside thebassmastermind.com. Now, this course is perfect for you if you're a beginner bassist looking to improve your technique so you can play your favorite songs or favorite bass lines on the bass guitar, or if you're an intermediate bass player and you're looking to brush up on your skills and develop more, say, finger independence and more speed on the bass guitar. So in the past, this course has actually sold for $97, but as we're coming up to Christmas, I'm going to give you all 7 videos, the whole course, for free on this YouTube channel. You can think of this as your 2021 Christmas present from me. And now all I ask in return is that you subscribe to this channel and then make sure your notifications are turned on, as I'll be releasing a lot more exciting things like this in the future. And of course, if I post any more courses, I don't want you to miss out. So make sure to watch the videos in order from day 1 to day 7. And when you watch this course, in the videos, I'll actually be talking about the 7-day technique challenge workbook. This is a PDF, and inside the workbook PDF, there is a place that you can make notes, but more importantly, there is a technique checklist which summarizes the entire course in just 3 pages. So you can download and print off this checklist as a PDF and then maybe put it on your wall or something and then refer back to it in the future. The workbook is completely free, and it's actually inside my free Facebook group for bass players. So to get access to the technique checklist and workbook, and also there's some other free courses on this Facebook group, just like this one, click the link below to join the Facebook group, and you can become part of the Bassmaster community. In this community, there are free bass lessons, courses, transcriptions, PDFs, tabs, drum loops, and obviously a community of like-minded bass players from around the world. And this group is a perfect place to ask questions if you ever feel stuck in your bass playing. So before you watch today's lesson, click the link below to become part of the Bassmaster community so you can download the workbook and the technique checklist. And then you can come back to this video. So with all of that being said, let's jump into today's lesson. Hey, welcome back. Today's lesson is called How to Avoid Fret Buzz and the 2 common mistakes to watch out for in your fretting hand. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover using the thumb, the fretting hand thumb, as a pivot point. We're going to look at correct fretting hand technique, and we're also going to cover the 2 common mistakes to watch out for in your fretting hand. So when we're looking at the fretting hand, the first thing I want you to bear in mind is I've flipped my bass over here so you can see, but you want to imagine there's a line down the back of your neck or your fingerboard. So there's a line down the middle here, and you want your thumb to go, when you're playing, you want your thumb to go down the middle of the fingerboard. So if I flip my bass over again, here you go. So you can see here, my thumb is down the middle of the fingerboard. So as I go up, so my thumb is moving down the middle of the back of the fingerboard. So that's the first thing to bear in mind. Now, what you can do with this fretting hand thumb is use it as a pivot point. And what I mean by that is if you're in, say, this position and you're playing a C major scale, you can see my thumb, if I'm playing with my first finger, my thumb's kind of in the middle of the second and the third finger here on my left hand or fretting hand. It's in the middle, and I'm kind of using it as a pivot point. And then when I go to change position, say I'm playing and I'm going up, then my thumb goes up as well and changes position. But if you're in the same position and you're going 1-4, then I'm using my thumb as a pivot point. And this is going to be a very common thing that I'm going to keep on bringing up in this challenge, but just keep everything relaxed. In the left hand, just make sure that your hand is relaxed and you're not kind of tensing up. And that goes for everything with your whole body, your right hand, your fretting hand, your plucking hand. Just make sure everything is relaxed. Now let's look at how to avoid fret buzz. So if you are just starting out and you're just building up that finger strength, you might hear a little bit of fret buzz when you play. It's just that buzzing sound and the note isn't quite clear. So there's really a couple of things that I think about when I want to avoid fret buzz. So when you go to pluck a note, let's just play the 3rd fret on the A string. So 3rd fret of the A string with our first finger. We're going to go just behind the 3rd fret and we get that big, nice round tone. If we're doing everything so far, we're keeping this elbow up, we're making sure this wrist is straight, we got our thumb here, we're going through the string, and we're also playing behind the fret, we're keeping everything relaxed, then you will get a nice clear tone. It kind of goes without saying, but just make sure your bass is set up correctly. I'm not going to go into, how to adjust the truss rod or the action, which is how far away the strings are from the neck. I'm not going to go into detail, but all I would suggest, if you are adjusting the truss rod, which will be here, there'll be a hole here, or there'll be a hole up here. The truss rod is just a metal pole that kind of goes down the middle of the neck, and it adjusts how straight you want the neck. And then you can also adjust the action, which is how far away the strings are from the bass at the bridge. We're not going to worry too much about that. If you're finding that you're doing everything I'm saying and you think everything's correct, you're going through the string, you're playing good left hand and right hand technique, then what I would suggest is just taking it into a guitar tech and just getting your bass set up. Just make sure you've got some good strings on there and your intonation and your tuning is good. But if you're still having issues after you've gone through this whole challenge and you've implemented all the exercises, then I would have a look at taking your bass maybe to a guitar tech. And kind of on the theme of being relaxed, don't squeeze the neck too hard. Sometimes I see students really squeezing the neck, and that's going to cause fret buzz as well. Now here are the 2 common mistakes that I see bass players make. So one is I call caving fingers. So here I'm going to show you, this is my index finger on my fretting hand, and you can see there's 2 joints. So we have this joint here and then this joint here, and then it's obviously connected to the hand. But we're going to pay attention to really this joint, this first joint. And what caving fingers is when this joint kind of caves inwards like that. We want it to be nice and curved when we go to play. We don't want it to cave in, so we get this kind of thing where the finger's flat or even bending upwards. We want it to be like that, and that goes for all our fingers. So when we go to pluck a note, you can see my fingers are curved. The problem I see some people is when they have their fingers flat like this, so they're like, I can hardly do it. But yeah, you don't want this. And that kind of leads me on to the second mistake that I see people making, and it's the flying fingers. And you probably heard about this. This is essentially where you're playing, and as you play a note, the other fingers are flying off like this. It might not be as drastic as this. The one to really watch out for is that pinky. That pinky sometimes goes under here or it flies off. So just when you're playing, say a C major scale, just be aware of that. Or if you're playing bass lines, just be aware of the flying fingers and the caving fingers. Now, there is an exception to the rule, like most things, and I kind of wanted to cover that here. So when I would suggest doing the caving fingers or having your fingers flat is when you're barring. And what I mean by barring is just when you're playing the string below. So if you're playing, say, 3rd fret on the D string here, remember, just behind the fret. And then if you want to play the note directly below 3rd fret on the A string, then you will have to do what's called barring, and that is when you keep your fingers straight. You can see my fingers are still kind of rocking, and you see when I go to the lower string that my finger goes back to that bent position. So it's flat and then bent. And a great bass line to work on if you want to work on barring is Under Pressure by Queen. And to play that bass line, all you do is you go up to the 12th fret on the D string and the 12th fret on the A string, and those are the 2 notes. So put your thumb here, rest it on the A string, because we're going to play the D string. And then we bar. So we bar here. And this is how the bass line sounds. So I'll slow that down. So we have, there's only 2 notes in the bass line. So in the left hand, it's just about getting that barring technique. So maybe first just work on going between those 2 notes. You can see the first note, I've got my finger flat, and then the second note I kind of curve, but I'm making sure that these strings are muted as well. And then my thumb is moving from the A string to the E string, and I'm going through the string. A lot of things to think about, but this is what's gonna really help when it comes to playing clean. And then as far as the rhythm, it's 3, 4. So if we got index, middle in the plucking hand, I like to say I am, so index, middle. So we got I am, I am, I am, I. I am, I am, I am, I. And then you'll get the correct technique. You can obviously try it the other way, so like M, I, M, I, M, I, M. And that's going to be an awesome bass line to work on to practice your barring and just knowing which finger in the plucking hand, if you're doing index or middle, it's really important to know that, especially when we look at more advanced things like raking. So tomorrow we'll look more at the flying finger technique and how we can really prevent that and really get some finger independence work going. But for today, you've already got one bass line, but I'm going to give you one more. The bass line is You've Really Got Me. And this is going to be great for really strengthening that pinky and just using the 1-4 in the left hand. It's going to kind of put everything together that we've been working on. So it's really cool to be able to learn these techniques and then implement it and apply it to some bass lines. So it's really simple, this bass line. And just note as well, when I play with my 4th finger, a lot of times I'm using that 3rd finger to really help out the pinky, because obviously the pinky by itself, if I try and play the pinky by itself, it's quite weak. So I try and use that 3rd finger and actually all the other fingers behind it to really strengthen this pinky. So you'll see we're just going from a 4, so we've got the 4th finger here to the 1st finger. And those are the 2 notes that this bass line uses, and that's just a G and an F. So we've got 3rd fret on the E string, 1st fret on the E string. And it starts on the 1st fret. So the bass line sounds like this. So it's just going between those 2 notes, and then it's just about getting that rhythm. And also just making sure, you're not getting the fret buzz, you're relaxed. All the things we've been talking about today and the previous lessons as well. So I'll start on my index finger in the plucking hand. So 3, 4. And then maybe switch around the plucking finger so you can go middle and then index. So 3, 4. That's the general gist of the bass line. It does go into different keys as well, but if you've just got that, that's really going to help as far as strengthening the pinky. That's really a good bass line to work on to help with your fretting hand technique. So your Bassmaster mission for today is to practice playing the 2 bass lines we looked at. So You've Really Got Me and Under Pressure. So have an awesome day, and I'll see you in tomorrow's lesson. So I hope you enjoyed that lesson, and before you go, just make sure to click the link below to join my free Facebook group for bass players, where you can download the Technique Challenge workbook and technique checklist, just so you can get the most out of this course. In the Bassmaster community, there are loads of free bass lessons, courses, transcriptions, PDFs, tabs, drum loops, and obviously the community of like-minded bass players from around the world. And if you click here, it will take you to the next lesson in this series.